This is step 2 in the Massive Action Plan. We're gonna go through helping you make some commitments. It is so important in business that you make commitments to your business. Just like any business. If you opened up a restaurant, could you open your restaurant and start working 1 day a week or a couple hours a day each day? Of course not. You start your business and you actually make commitments to that business. A certain amount of hours, a certain amount of days, a certain amount of hours per day. You have to make a commitment to build your business. If it's a restaurant, same thing in this business. So you have to make some basic commitments. Now, what I'm gonna do is give you a couple overviews, a couple ideas of types of commitments that I recommend you to make. One of them I'd recommend you to make is commit to going to every weekly briefing that you have locally. If you have weekly presentations in your area, I'd strongly recommend you commit to going to each one of those. Now, there's a little caveat to it. You wanna go to them even if you have a guest or even if you don't have a guest. It's so important that you go, whether if you have a guest or not. Also, if you have, let's say, trainings in your area, I'd strongly recommend that you commit to going to each one of those trainings, no matter what. Because every time you go to a training, you learn something different. Of course, commit to taking notes when you're at that training. And I would recommend you take notes with a white paper and blue ink. One of the things I learned years ago, that if you take notes with white paper and blue ink, you'll remember the information about 40% more. So when you go to your trainings, commit to taking a pen and paper and taking notes. Remember that teachability index, willingness to learn and willingness to accept change. It's so important. The next thing I recommend you to commit to are conference calls. Now, if you have team conference calls, I'd recommend you to commit to going to those, at least for the first 90 days on a consistent basis. Because remember, you're in the beginning stages of your business. You have to learn. The more times you hear it, the better you're gonna learn it. So if you go to the meetings, you go to the trainings, you get on the conference calls on a consistent basis, you're gonna learn the information better. Also, another thing I'd recommend you to commit to are webinars. If you have webinars on your company or on your team, I'd recommend you to commit to those as well. Now, of course, you may work a full-time job, or maybe you have a business, or you have a family, so you can't commit to everything. See, the great thing about network marketing is that it is a part-time business. So you don't have to do all of them, but you do gotta make some commitments. Now you gotta look at your schedule. You know your situation a lot better than I do. So you have to look at your calendar and say, okay, on Mondays, what can I do? On Tuesdays, what can I do? And you go down the list and you schedule it. I learned a sentence years ago actually, from a trainer of mine. He says, what doesn't get scheduled, doesn't get done. Think about that. What doesn't get scheduled, doesn't get done. So what you have to do is you got to look at your schedule and you got to schedule the meetings in your calendar. You got to schedule the trainings in your calendar. You have to schedule the webinars and the conference calls and the team conference calls and the team meetings that you may have, or whatever it is. You want to schedule them so you can start attending those events and start attending those workshops so you can start learning the information it's going to take to build your business.